Work-life balance. Let's talk about this subject today. I've been asked this question a million times. How do you maintain work-life balance? Is it possible to have good work-life balance? All of the questions, and I think they're asked often of people that appear to be successful because it looks like we got our stuff together, right? Everything's going perfect. Well, obviously that is not the case. So let's tackle this conversation about work-life balance. And at the end of this video, I'll give you my thoughts on where you really should be, okay? Hey everybody, Scott Stalker here. Again, my videos on YouTube are focused completely on your own personal development. So everything I talk about on here is going to give you tips, advice, and ideas on how you can get yourself 1%, 2%, just a little bit better every single day so that you can find success, whether that's monetarily, with your family, whatever the case may be. Everything I do here is about your own personal development because I believe that is the most important investment you can make. So let's tackle this idea, and the subject today being work-life balance. So first of all, if you're going to be excellent at something, if you're going to be a top 1% of anything, whether that's in gymnastics, whether that's in sports, finance, business, you name it, I don't believe it is possible to have work-life balance because you are going to have to put everything you have, all of your waking hours, and sometimes maybe even sacrificing sleep in other areas so that you can be number one in your field. And you can read all the books that are out there. You can talk to all the most successful people that are out there. Most of them will tell you they got successful because they sacrificed other things. They sacrificed time with family. They sacrificed dinner with friends. They sacrificed a couple extra days on a vacation. They sacrificed even having a vacation. Everything they did, all of their time was dedicated to that one thing. So right off the bat, let's just get it out of the way. If you want to be elite, number one in your field, work-life balance is not possible. That's my belief. However, if you want to be pretty good and you want to be senior in a business, own your own business like I do, if you want to have a YouTube channel, but again, I don't have the number one YouTube channel and I likely never will because I'm not willing to dedicate my entire day, everything I do to YouTube, then I think if you're willing to compete and do well in life, you can get much closer to harmony and work-life balance. So let's tackle the specifics here and go line by line on what we need to consider when we talk about work-life balance. The first one, of course, is time constraints. We know you get 24 hours in a day. This year we were lucky we got that extra day so we can do something for 366 days a year. But in all seriousness, you only get so many hours in the day and you have those time constraints. Now, depending again on what your goals are and what your aspirations are, that's the set window. And you've got to have some sleep. I don't care who you are. Eventually, you got to get some sleep in. And for me, I've got to get my 8 hours in. Others need a little less. Some need a little more. But that right away takes 16, 15, whatever amount of sleep you get. Subtract that. Boom. Now you've got some time left in the day to go after your goals. Balance means half of that is going to your life, so to speak, whether that's with your family or things you like to do, and half of that is going towards work. And so you can see if you're sleeping 8 hours a day, you can cut this day up into thirds, 8 hours for work, and so on and so forth. Now, if you've got to drive to work, do any traffic or anything, you've already cut into that, and it's not possible right away to get work-life balance because it's 8 hours a day at work, it's a little bit in the car, driving, traffic, not possible. You've got to understand the time constraints that go into having work-life balance. Maybe you only work 6 hours a day. Maybe you do the 4-hour work week, which we've read about. But either way, you got to understand that the time constraints are critical to this equation. Prioritization. You got to prioritize what's most important to you. If you want to have work-life balance, you can achieve it. You just have to prioritize it. That means you put on your calendar 8 hours a day or X amount of hours a day for your family. Because balance is an equation, right? It means 50-50. It means a little bit here, a little bit there, and equals out. If you want true work-life balance, that means you put on your calendar, you schedule time with that life, whatever life means for you when we talk work-life balance. Is that family? Is that with your dog? Is it at the gym? And then you balance that out by putting the exact amount of time on the calendar for work as well. And then obviously you got to have your rest. Prioritization is critical there. High expectations. This is where it becomes challenging to have work-life balance because the high expectations that you may have, the pursuit of success always comes with high expectations. And if you're going to try to pursue success, if you want to be elite at anything you want to do in life, those high expectations are going to make it virtually impossible to have work-life balance. Now, if your high expectations are to be pretty good at something, to be above average, to be excellent, I think you can get the work-life balance. But if it's to be elite, if it's to be one of the top 1%er, I don't think it's possible because the time that it's going to take, whether that's the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours theory or more, quite frankly, I think it's often more than that to be elite. You got to put in the time, and that means time away from everything. And so it's that prioritization of things and those high expectations that aren't going to to allow you to get there. Workplace culture plays a lot in this too. There's a lot of places you work, they take great pride in working really, really hard. And I've been in those organizations, and a lot of them are really good people, and the workplace culture is just a driven culture, and everyone wants to succeed. And often where I was at, it was for national security reasons, so it was really a point of pride to put in the work. However, knowing that workplace culture makes it so that it's not going to be possible to have balance on the other end because we're putting in the hours at work. So just know what the workplace culture is and how you fit in there and how that fits into your desire to get a work-life balance. Because again, if it's high op tempo, if you're running and gunning nonstop, taking great pride in putting in extra hours, 12-hour days, as I used to call them, half days, you're not going to achieve the work-life balance. Know that going into this conversation. So you're thinking of work-life balance and you're not quite sure how to get there. Here's one of the things you can think of to get closer to a work-life balance. Think more about quality versus quantity. Everything I try to do, I focus more on the quality and the efficiency and the effectiveness, adding value, not putting out a lot of numbers and doing a lot of things. So I only try to take on a couple of things and do that exceptionally well. Quality over quantity. If you keep that in mind as you're going through all of this and scheduling your day, your week, your month, setting your goals, focus on the quality over the quantity, and that'll allow you to get closer to a more harmony and a better equation there of work-life balance. You need to set boundaries. Set those at work, set those in your life, set them with yourself. Because if you want to achieve a work-life balance, if you want to set that environment, there's going to be things you have to say no to, things that would interfere potentially with the balance on one end, whether that's life, or maybe you've invested more time in life, which is rare. I don't hear that too often, and say, hey, I got to put a little bit more back into work. Okay, that doesn't happen, especially in America where everyone's a workaholic, but sometimes it does. So how do you do that? When you get all these questions, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? Can you give me more? You got to set those boundaries, make sure people know clearly that's not something I'm willing to do. That's not something I'm going to take on. That's not anything that's in my contract because it'll interfere with the priorities of my life, which is maintaining balance. This myth of multitasking. Here's the deal. Words matter. And this idea of multitasking being a negative thing, let me challenge you on that and challenge the societal norm on how they think about this. Multitasking, the word tasking means you're giving other people things to do. I think multitasking is brilliant. That means you are not doing those. You're tasking other people to do multiple things. Here's what people actually mean when they say multitasking. They mean you shouldn't be multi-executing. And that's where I agree. You don't want to be doing a bunch of things at the same time. You want to take on one thing, do it exceptionally well, and then have something ready to do after that, but not multiple things at the same time. So multitasking, absolutely great. Multi-executing, not a good thing because now you're not focused. You're putting 10% into everything instead of 100% into one thing. You need to take on the idea that self-care is not selfish. And the reason why it's not selfish is because the moment you drain your batteries, you're no longer going to be able to perform. Even if you don't want to achieve work-life balance, even if you want to be that elite person, at some point you got to take care of yourself, right? The idea of putting your mask on first. This comes down to rest, recuperation, recovery, diet, fitness, all of the things you need. A vacation, you got to balance that out because if you don't balance self-care, you're soon going to be so drained, just like the battery in your phone or fuel in your car, and you're running low on fuel, you're just not going to be able to perform at your best. So have the idea that self-care is not selfish and you got to adjust time and schedule time for you, whether that's a week, a month, whether that's a week, a year. Know that self-care is not selfish. Take care of yourself, invest in yourself so that you're able to be, whether that's that elite or you want to maintain work-life balance. Either way, if you're not taking care of yourself, you will not achieve it. I think the power of rituals is critical. I've talked before on here about investing 5-10 minutes in the evening, preparing for your day. Those rituals really, really matter. Making sure you minimize the decisions you have to make in the day so that you can move quickly. Meaning, if you know you got to go to the gym, that means your bag is packed, it's already in the car. So you wake up in the morning, you go right into the car and you go right to the gym. Everything's already set. Embracing those rituals and have positive rituals, whether that's scheduling gym time and going at a certain time every day, meals. Like for me, as an example, almost always, unless I'm traveling, I don't eat food until noon every day. And that's just kind of a ritual that I have. Embrace those rituals, schedule those rituals, lock those rituals in, and that's going to allow you to get closer to a work-life balance routine and schedule because you know every single day, here are the things I am going to do. One of those rituals also should be sleep time. I think also it is important in this idea of work-life balance to celebrate the small victories because those little victories add up to bigger victories. I always tell folks that I work with every single day, All I'm focused on is getting a win. I want to win the handshake. I want to win the polite courtesy engagement. Everything I do. So that means if I'm being polite with someone, I want to win that engagement with them. Everything I do is focusing on winning that event. And I don't say that in a hyper competitive way, meaning I want the other person to lose, but I want every engagement I have to be positive. Every interaction I have with a person to be positive. Everything I do, I want to win at that. If I'm typing an email, I want to read that over and I want that to be exceptionally well written, and so that I win that. It's a mentality and a mindset. Celebrating those small victories, they will lead to further success. When you go shopping and you purchase a suit or an outfit, you want to make sure you get the best deal you can, but you also want to get the best fit and you want it to look right, all right? And I know that may not make a lot of sense to some, but every single thing you do in time with your family, when you're spending time with them, you put the phone away so you win at that event. It's all about those small micro victories, and slowly over time, they lead to greater success and larger victories. All right, let's end this here. Towards the end, I wanted to focus on where we need to be. And I think that's more about alignment, not balance. Aligning your goals or your desires, all the things you want to achieve, and aligning those with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Instead of balancing on a tightrope, seek alignment. Align your values, passions, and purpose with your work. And that way you're focusing there. And then the same thing, align your values, your passion, and your time, and dedicate that to your life. And that life, again, that could be your family, that could be your kids, that could be your spouse, and we're all different there. For me, I have small children and a wife, and so I try to align time to them to balance things out, but it's not perfect. And I know that, my wife knows that, we all know that going into it. And so we have more harmony and alignment, not necessarily balance. Remember going into this, work, life, and balance, they aren't enemies. They aren't even frenemies. They're partners. Just like dance partners, they're not adversaries here. Sometimes you got to invest a little bit more time in one area. Other times you got to invest a little more time in another area. That could be the balance you seek. It also may give you the realization that I'm never going to have complete work-life balance, and I'm okay with that. For me personally, probably for the next 15 years, I'm not going to have perfect work-life balance because I want to be really, really good at several things. I know that. I've had that conversation with my spouse going into it, and so there's no work-life balance here, and we know that going in. So is work-life balance possible? Absolutely. Unless you want to be number one at something you do, a top 5% individual, I think work-life balance is possible. But I think what you should strive to achieve instead is harmony and synchronization and effective communication and that conversation with others in your life so they know what you're trying to achieve and they're more supportive and you don't feel guilty for over-investing other time into something that you have a passion for. Ultimately, are you satisfied? Are you happy? Are you grateful for the life that you have? That needs to be the question you ask yourself. And if you're not, dive deep into that question. Ask yourself, what am I not doing that I want to be doing more? And that may give you the answers you're looking for about your work-life balance. But happiness, fulfillment, gratitude, that's what you're looking for. Not necessarily this work-life perfection of everything being 50-50. And depending on the answer to that question about happiness and satisfaction and gratitude, and the things that you want to do in life, that may be where you need to tinker with your own work-life balance. All right, everyone, really good conversation on work-life balance. I want to hear your thoughts on this because if you have the perfect solution, the perfect answer, or you've struggled in this area as well, let me know your thoughts. Please put those in the comment section. I really appreciate the followers that I have. Again, let me know other conversations and topics you want to tackle. Thank you very much.